Alright guys, today I'm going to show you how I went from this image to this image in Photoshop. Welcome back, my name is Philip and let's jump right into Photoshop. So here's what's going to happen. I want to have a light source right here and then I want to transform the whole thing into an evening scene. So I want to give the sky some nice colors and also reflect those colors, of course, in the river down here. I want to adapt the vegetation, especially the lighting of it, so that it actually fits more into an evening scene. And at the end I'm going to give it a nice vignette and that shall be all for today. So let's jump right in. And the first thing I'm always doing is duplicating my background layer by hitting Command and J on the keyboard. And as you see now we have a copy of the background layer. So let's add the sun right there at the horizon. So I'm going to go to Filter, Render, and then Lighting Effects. And that's going to take about 5 seconds to load up. 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't you disappoint me. Okay, well that was a close one. So there we go. So now we have that light source right here and I'm just going to hit OK. So it's a point light source. You can take that thing and drag it around as much as you feel like. I'm just going to leave it right there and hit OK. It's going to think for a second and put that light source on my actual layer which I had selected before, right? It's going to think a bit. Yes, okay. So now we have that, but I don't want this everywhere. So it has brightened up the image everywhere, okay? I'm not a big fan of that. So let's just make a layer mask by hitting the layer mask symbol down here. Hit B on the keyboard to get the brush, and with black as the foreground color, which I can just get by hitting X on the keyboard, right? And an opacity of, say, 70% or something like that. Let's make that 50% maybe. I'm just going to get rid of the light on certain occasions. So I want to have the clouds a little bit darker, maybe something like that. Let's just brought the opacity down to 40%. And also here in the water, we don't need this that bright. With 20% opacity, I'm also going to go over the water right here. We can also zoom a little bit in. Let's bring that back just a bit, maybe something like that. Okay, and maybe bring it back a bit here and also down here. Okay, well that's good. All right, so now the light is not as strong as it was before, right? I just make sure that this part in the sky is quite bright indeed. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the so-called snap visible, which will copy everything we can see onto a new layer. And I'll do that by hitting Command, Alt, Shift, and E. So now I have a new layer with everything which was there before on that new layer. I'm going to go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter. I'm going to increase once the window pops up. There you go. I'm going to increase the clarity. And what that does, you can see in the little preview window, it just gives the whole thing a crispness, which is amazing. I'm loving it. So let's maybe something like that is not bad. I'm just going to hit OK, wait for another couple of seconds, and there we go. So this effect, again, is very strong, and I don't actually want it everywhere. So I'm going to create a layer mask, and I'm going to layer mask out what I don't want. So I make my brush relatively big, maybe just something like this. Choose black as my foreground color because I want to hide things. So to hide things on a white layer mask, we're going to have to paint in black. So in a moment it's white, I'm going to hit X and now it's black. And with an opacity of some 40%, let's say, I'm just going to hide the effect, especially from the tree area here. Let's increase that opacity to 70%. Also here in the boats themselves, I don't need this effect necessarily. Also this side, I want it a bit smooth. Okay, and also we want to be as precise as possible, I guess. We're going to do it just here in the back. That's, by the way, my friend Shane there. We were on a kind of photography trip just down in the south of Ireland. It was a very good time. All right, so let's go a bit over here and over there. Okay, and we can see on the layer mask right here which areas we have just masked out. So if I go to the before and after, we have a nice, let's say, contrast increasement. Philip is creating new words today. Contrast increase in the sky as well as the water. That's good. That's very good, actually. So now let's go to the next step, which is adding the actual colors to the sky and to the water. And for this, I'm going to create 3 new layers by hitting the new layer symbol down here 3 times. We have layer 2, 3, 4. I'm going to hide the top 2, select the bottom one, press G on my keyboard, which will bring up my gradient tool. I'm going to start off with a nice yellow. So I'm just in the color palette right here. I'm going to select yellow, and I'm going to drag up something like this maybe. Or maybe we can even go a little bit further. Let's just do this. That could work very well. I'm going to set the blend mode from normal down to color, like so. And now I have to make sure I'm actually not affecting areas I don't want to affect, such as the vegetation and everything which is here, right? We don't want to affect that. So for a start, I can make that invisible for now, and I'll go back to, for example, my original layer. It doesn't really matter. And I'll zoom in, like so. Well, let's check this layer actually, even though it's invisible. And I'm gonna go to image, and then, no, I'm gonna go to select and color range. So what I wanna make sure is that these branches and all these leaves, that they're not yellow in the end. And one way to do that is just to go to select and color range, and then just click on the vegetation. And here in the little preview window, you can see what you have actually selected. I'm holding Shift down, and I'll continue to click through the vegetation, especially these darker parts right here, because that is a selection we want, right? Something like this. I'm just going to do a very quick and rough job now, because I don't want to, keep you forever with that. And let's bring the fuzziness down just a little bit, and maybe something like that is not bad. Then I hit OK. And now what's going to happen, it will make a selection out of this. And with this selection, I can now go back to the layer I have just created with the color, make it visible, and create a layer mask, and it'll automatically take whatever I told him to take, which was the selection of the trees, and make a layer mask out of it. So now it is exactly the other way around, because now the yellow is shown in the branches and stuff. We don't want that. So with the layer mask selected, I'm going to hit Command and I, which will inverse this effect. All right? So that's not bad. The trees are still mildly affected, but we can just take a brush now by hitting B on the keyboard, make that massive with a black brush and an opacity of some 50%. We can just start to mask it out where we don't like it. Somewhere like here, and also here, we don't need that so far. Like that, and get rid of it there. Okay, that's not bad. And as I said, normally with the color range selection, you want to go around and you make a good selection so that most of your leaf material is not in that layer mask. I don't want to do that right now because it takes a while to click around and see if it actually works. So let's just do it like that. Let's go to 100% and just mask the stuff out here, just like that. Let's go in, make sure that we also have that horizon here with all these boats. So you see, you want to be precise when you do these things. I'm going to do a very rough job now, just to show you how to generally add the color, right? Maybe something like that. Well, let's go back there. Okay, well, that's not bad. I think we can live with this for now. Let's just make the brush nice and big and just go with the edges here and here, and that's fine. Let's do a 20% opacity, or even better, let's do 10, and just make sure that the yellow is blending in with the water as best as possible. Okay, that's not bad. And now we're going to do another step. I'm going to double click on that layer. I'm going to use my blending options down here. So what I would like to have is this effect to be less visible where the bright areas are, right? So for this, I'm going to hold Alt on my keyboard and use the bottom slider and just drag it to the left. And you'll see it'll disappear. I'll just have to choose position or a point where I think it looks kind of good. So maybe something like this is not bad. Okay, we can just have successfully created the first color in the sky, which is not bad. So let's do the next one. Let's go up one, make the next layer visible, even though it's empty, and let's choose a nice red, maybe something like this, right? And let's do a layer mask which goes up to hitting G on the keyboard for the gradient tool to something like, I can even go a little bit higher, I guess. Let me see. First of all, that is the wrong one. We want this, okay. We can still go a little bit higher. I want the red, as a good proportion of that sky. That's not bad, I think. Okay, let's see. If we go from normal down to color, it's going to do the same thing. Of course, it's going to color our yellow areas as well, which is fine for now. Don't worry about it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hold Alt on that layer mask, and I'm going to drag it up to this new layer. And what it'll do, it will automatically apply that layer mask to the red layer, saving us some work. So now we can see we did a quite bad job with the color range selection before. So I'm going to take a brush and just with an opacity of 70 whatever percent, I'm just going to get rid of the red in the leaf material. Again, if you do these kind of things, make sure you're actually doing a nicer selection than I did just there. Maybe something like that. We will survive, I guess. Okay, let's make that brush a bit bigger. And again, with an opacity of 20%, well, that's 30%, I'm going to make it a bit smaller. I'm going to get rid of the red just where we had put the yellow before, right? I don't want to completely get rid of the yellow. That will be kind of sad. Let's bring that yellow out over here a little bit more. And with an opacity of 5%, which I can get by hitting quickly 0.5, then you have opacity 5. I'm just going to make sure that I blend the yellow and the red into each other nicely as I can. Okay, And it'll all make sense in just a minute. Okay, so that's that. That's not bad. Let's do the third color. Actually, you know what? We can bring some more red out here in the water. So let's actually do that. And the way to do that is by hitting X on the keyboard to get white, because we want to actually show the red. Okay, and with an opacity of 10%, I'm just going to go over here just a little bit. And again with 0.5, just bring it over into the yellow. That looks quite good. I'm happy with this. Remember, it shouldn't be like later when we work on the colors, the color in the water should not be as strong as the one in the sky. And you'll see that it looks good if we just keep it down in the river a little bit. All right, good. Let's do the third color. So make the third layer visible. Choose a nice color, such as, what could we choose? Like a nice purple, I guess, would be not bad. Let's magenta. All right. So let's hit G for the gradient tool and just drag it up to something like this. Yeah, that's not bad at all. And again, we're going to go from normal down to color. Bam. And I'm going to create, well, I'm going to hold Alt, go to the layer mask I had before, and just drag it up to the new layer. Okay, that's not bad. And I'm going to click on the layer mask, hit B, make it relatively big, and with an opacity of about 20%, with black as my foreground color, I'm just going to get rid of the very strong magenta in the areas where I don't want it, right? So that is a nice way of blending the colors kind of naturally together. Okay, that's good. Let's do it a bit here. So we don't want to lose all the red, right? So the red shouldn't be kind of overwritten by the magenta, but we want a little bit of magenta in there as well. Okay, that's not bad at all. I kind of like that. So let's, with an opacity of 5%, change the foreground color to white because we want to bring the effect out. I'm just going to bring it back just a little bit down here in the water. And it's a very strong color basically right here, right? So let's change the foreground color to black to hide it and just remove it a little bit right here from the yellow and red areas. Okay, that's not bad. Good, so now that we have done this, we could start and make things a bit darker. Remember, it's an evening scene, it's far too bright for that. So let's create a curve adjustment layer and just bring it down. Look at these colors, beautiful. Okay, so now that we have done this, I don't necessarily want to change the boats here, right? Because the boats are quite nice when they are bright. I'm going to show you later why that is. So I'm just going to hit G again, and on my curve adjustment layer, I'm just going to go from down here with black selected and go up to something like that. And that's just going to lighten up that area. Well, maybe we can do that even a bit more. Yeah, something like this is not bad. Okay, quite happy with this. So let's work a little bit on these clouds. Remember, when you have a sunset, then normally clouds which are, let's say, closer to the sun, I guess, right? They would be a little bit darker than the ones which are above, right? So let's try to do that using the brush, okay? So what we can do, we're going to create a new curve adjustment layer and bring it down. I'm just looking at the lower parts of these clouds right here. And I think that's quite good, so let's do that. I'm going to invert that layer by hitting Command and I, therefore hiding the effect. And if I press B now to get my brush, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, with an opacity of, say, 30%. I'm just going to go and paint the effect through where I want it. I want to make sure that I paint here and there and a bit here. Let's zoom out a little bit just to be faster. Maybe here. Also this part right there. Again, doing a quick job here. Don't judge me on that. Opacity of 10% just to blend it over a little bit more. Yeah, a bit more maybe, something like this. And let's make that a bit bigger and just hit in here once. That's not bad. Maybe here once or twice. All right. And also over here, let's change that up a tiny bit. Okay, that's not bad. So now we have the clouds a bit darker. Good. So what we also want is we want to first brighten up the grass down here a little bit, because you can see the grass here is quite bright, but the one here is not really, right? So let's do that. And the way to do that, for example, I mean, let's just, wherever you want to make it, is by using a level adjustment. And that's what I'm going to use right now. And remember, I didn't get rid of the colors now of the new red and magenta, whatever it was in the leaves. So you want to do that if you do these kind of things. So let's bring that down. And I'm just looking at this grass here, right? I want to bring it up. And then I'm going to bring this up to increase the contrast in that grass just a little bit. Maybe something like that. And see if I bring that up. Let's go this way. Okay. I don't want to go too far because then here something weird happens, which is fine. We can always get rid of this later. Okay, let's make that small, hit Command and I to hide the effect, and make sure we're just going to bring the effect out in the grass right here, right? So I'm going to make that a bit smaller, opacity 50%. I'm just going to go over the areas right here. I'm going to, oops, switch my brush and change the color to black, just to hide it from here a little bit, and just paint it in right here. Okay, so now we have just increased the brightness over there, and the lightness especially a bit more, which is not bad at all. Okay, so the next step would be to make the rest a little bit darker even. Okay, so in the moment everything is evenly dark. And actually, now that I think about it, let's go back to our magenta, because I realize we have a lot in these boats. I mean, that is just not necessary, right? So let's just get rid of it. Bam, bam. The cool thing is we haven't created any other stamp visible, and I don't think we actually will. So you can just always go back to the layers which give you any trouble, and fight them because they can't defend themselves when they are not covered by anything, right? So that's not bad. So let's get rid of it at least a little bit. Okay, and we don't want any of the magenta actually in here, so let's completely get rid of that. Okay, there we go, much better. Otherwise it would have bugged me to death. Good, so let's go up again, create another curve adjustment layer, and just bring it down to something like, maybe something like that. Right? That wouldn't look bad, I guess. And you never know when you work with colors, but let's just say that is fine. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit B on my keyboard to get my brush again, make it massive. I'm just going to do some global lighting adjustments, right? I don't want the sky too dark because it's going to look weird otherwise. So let's, with an opacity of 30%, let's bring back some brightness, okay? And also, remember the boats, I don't want them too crazy dark. We can always bring them back later, but let's get into the bush. Let's get in the bush here a little bit. Actually, no, let's make it like that. And also, we don't want this side to be too dark. And this is actually not bad. We could, no, let's darken it up. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we darken it up? Okay, good. That doesn't look bad at all. I kind of like it. Now, the grass looks a bit toxic, doesn't it? It's far too saturated. So let's just create a saturation layer and just decrease the saturation until we feel it feels a bit more realistic. I don't want it to be washed out or anything, but I don't want it to kind of shine toxically into your face either. So let's invert that by hitting Command and I, make the brush about this size, whatever, hit 5 on the keyboard, and just bring out the effect where we feel like it's necessary, especially in these grassy areas, right? We could also make it nice big and with an opacity of 10%, just remove a little bit of saturation here and also up here, just a little bit. I think it's quite necessary, otherwise it's far too strong, right? And you always want to go away when you work with colors and come back a couple of hours if you can later, because then you see if something is too strong or not. Okay, so that's good. So now we have that, and let's do the bushes a little bit darker. Let's do the bushes darker. So I'm just going to create another curve adjustment. I'm just looking at this tree and these bushes on the side right now. It's going to get me go in there. So this one right there and all these bushes here. I'm quite happy if they would have about this brightness. So let's hit Command and I, invert that, and with a brush and an opacity of 50%, I'll just darken that up. And I'm also going to darken those ones up right here. Okay, so something like this. And then let's darken up. Let's darken up. I don't even know if that's correct. Let's just say we darken those ones here as well. That's not bad. Let's darken this guy here a little bit, because otherwise he's far too strong. And I kind of like that there's a bit of grass here and then there's a branch here, but it is too bright. So let's just, remove the brightness here just a little bit. Okay, good. That makes it look way better. Fair enough. So the next thing we should do is we shoot a little bit of a vignette. Okay, so I want the attention to be here, obviously in the center of the image. So let's actually do that. And the way to do this, quite simply, I'm just going to do a curve adjustment, bring it down to something like this. And then with the curve adjustment selected, I can hit M on my keyboard, which will bring up my marquee tool right up here. But I can also hit Shift and M, which will bring up the, how is it even called? The circular marquee tool, the elliptical marquee tool. All right, there you go. With this, I'm just going to drag with the mode to normal, that is important. Just going to drag that thing right here or about here. Depends wherever you want it, of course. And I'm going to hit Shift and backspace. And that'll ask me with what I have to fill this selection, or Photoshop has to fill it. Let's fill it with black. Hit OK. And if we deselect that now, you can see we have a bright circle, which is not bad. Not quite what we want. So let's go to Filter, Blur, and Gaussian Blur, and just look at the thing here. Wanted thought. Okay, now it's gone. I'm going to hit OK. So it was quite a massive blur, right? So you can see here on the layer mask symbol thing, basically, we can see the marquee tool we used, and then that we blurred it out a little bit. So if I go before and after, you see that the center is quite bright. Now, of course, we can adjust it by hitting B, getting our brush, and adding some brightness to the areas where we actually like it. For example, here, these boats, make them a bit brighter. Also, maybe over here, and just once, maybe over there. U-boats. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, and we can also, if we feel like, we can always take out some of the darkness in the clouds, but that's obviously completely up to you. So there is one more thing which is obviously quite annoying, and I don't really know why that happened, but we have amazing amounts of noise in the sky. So I don't mind the clouds to be a little bit washed out. It's kind of the fact that I like. So this is the point where we have to create a stamp visible. So if you're unhappy with your colors, at least the, let's say, color distribution, then this is a good time to, to change it up a little bit. But you can always do it later. That just means that everything which comes below can't be changed easily anymore. You're going to have to put some more work in it. Okay, so let's hit Command-Alt-Shift+E on the keyboard to create a stamp visible. And in order to get rid of the noise, I'm just going to go to Filter and Camera Raw Filter. And once I have done that, if it ever does it, do it. Cool, I'm going to go to Detail right here, and I'm going to go to Noise Reduction. So from previous experience with this image, I know I have to go ridiculously high. And even with the luminance detail a little bit down, it won't get rid of this right here, okay? So I'm going to show you how I did that. Let's just, yeah, maybe, yeah, something like this will do the trick for now. Maybe a little bit less. Yeah, all right, hit OK. Let it think for just a second. Okay, I'm going to create a layer mask, invert that layer mask, so that now nothing is actually, removed from noise. And with a white brush, hitting X on the keyboard and an opacity of 100%, I'm just going to get that new sky through. Okay, do something like that. I'm just going to, again, do a very rough job. You want to make sure you actually you have to push this cat out and everything. Okay, so now we have that. And now, as I mentioned, the blur is not completely gone, right? So that is, can't even say how annoyed I am. So what I did in this instance, I hit Command-Alt-Shift+E on the keyboard again to create a stamp visible. And this stamp visible, I just filtered and blurred with another Gaussian blur, and not such a big one, no. But I think one which was around 7 or something like this. Yes. So maybe like that, right? And I put a layer mask on that, hit invert for that layer mask, and with an opacity of 10%, I just started to pencil through or click as long as necessary until it is gone. And that is something you want to take your time with. You can also try to use a J, which is a spot healing brush tool. But then, that generally works. Just blur it away and it can go and die. Stupid noise. We don't want you. Go away. Okay, good. And you can do this again and again until you have the feeling that it is at least good enough, right? You can also do the same thing again and change the blending mode from the layer from normal down to color and blur this, and that will get rid of these kind of different colored pixels which you have up here. So that's what you can do. I'm not going to do it right now, it takes too much time. Okay. Good, so let's say we want to give the sky some more detail back. I'm going to create another stamp visible by hitting Command-Alt-Shift+E, therefore copying everything we can see onto a new layer. I'm going to change its blending mode from normal to soft light, and we're going to apply a little bit of an arcing effect. So what I'll do, I'll go to Filter and Blur and Gaussian Blur, and I'm just going to blur it just a little bit, maybe something like. We'll just look at the real-time preview basically right here. We're going to see once we're happy. Maybe something like this doesn't look bad. Let's hit OK. Cool, let's look at it before and after. So that's quite a strong effect. And again, we don't want this everywhere, right? But I like what it does in the water and I like what it does in the sky. So let's create a layer mask, hit Command-I to hide the whole effect. And again, you can take your time here. There's no rush. But with an opacity of 30%, I'm just going to bring out the effect. I'm just clicking on random spots right here. And with an opacity of 10, I'm also going to bring it out in the sky just a little bit. Okay, so now that we have done this, we can also add another color if we feel like. So for example, you can always now create a new layer, select a nice dark, for example, blue, and hit G on your keyboard, get your gradient tool, and get it up there so that we have some, maybe not this, maybe from here. Yeah, we can try and see how it works. Let's go from normal to overlay and see. I kind of like what it does to the clouds right here. So what you can do, again, you create a layer mask, first of all, or you can also create a get down with the opacity to maybe something like this. And with the layer mask selected, I'm going to hit Command and I, get my brush. Okay, with an opacity of say 10%, I carefully bring the blue through wherever I feel like I want to have it. Okay, obviously it's going to combine with the other colors on your layer, but that is fine. I mean, I kind of like that play of color. Beautiful. Okay, so that's just the thing. You can do whatever you want in Photoshop, whatever you feel like. Okay, so we can, I think, I'm just gonna stop talking right now. I'm just gonna decrease some brightness here, right? Because I wanna decrease the brightness right on top of here. So what I'm gonna do is hit Command and I, and again brush that through with an opacity of say 50%, so that the top is not as bright. Cool, kind of like that. That's not bad at all. Okay, and that is essentially how I processed this image from a normal afternoon scene into a kind of, evening scene, which is in some ways the most magical thing I have created so far. I haven't tried this kind of thing before. And you don't have to stop there. I mean, you could, for example, now create another curve adjustment layer on top of that. And instead of RGB, you could go to, say, green and take out some green. And the whole color composition can change, but just by adding a bit of one color or removing it. Right? So you could make it incredibly more magical if that's what you feel like, or not. It's completely up to you. You guys don't have to stop there. You can also, I think that's maybe not bad for here, increase the brightness a bit, invert that by hitting Command and I on the keyboard, and just bring back some of the brightness here in the boat area, right? Just to make sure there is attention still on that boat. Cool, and now we have a beautiful night, evening, whatever it is, scene where little fairy tales, or my friend Jane at least, are standing around taking pictures. Perfect. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching. If you did like the video, please do not forget to hit that thumbs up button, and also if you haven't already, do subscribe for more weekly Photoshop stuff and things. It was a pleasure. If you have any questions or you would like to see anything particular in the channel, just drop me a comment below and I'll be happy to reply as soon as I can. Otherwise, thanks for watching guys, and I shall see you the next time. Bye!